Hey guys, Jean here, and today I want to talk to you about this book, Life's Work, A Moral Argument for Choice by Dr. Willie Parker. And this was an interesting read. It is, Dr. Parker is a doctor who performs abortions, and he considers it his life's work. He's gone through a lot to be able to do it. He is also an African American and a man. So he kind of brings a unique perspective to the pro-choice, pro-life argument. There's a lot of different things in this book that I think are interesting, and I did make some notes, so I'm going to be referring to them along the way. But I think the thing that stood out most is he has a lot of interesting ideas about where the pro-life, pro-choice debate came from. I don't necessarily know how accurate it is because a lot of this took place before my time, and he basically said that before the election of Ronald Reagan it wasn't really much of a debate, and that was something that was kind of a political maneuver that became, through propaganda, a whole actual debate. And prior to that there was not really much of a pro-life, pro-choice thing. People just accepted that women had the right to an abortion, and women have been doing it basically since women figured out that you could. As long as humans have been getting pregnant, they've been finding ways to not be pregnant when they don't want to be. One other thing that's really neat about Dr. Parker is that he is a Christian. Now, he is a Christian in a way that is not a version of Christianity I see very often. I grew up in a very conservative Christian home, and the viewpoints there were very, very strict. It was, you do this, you don't do this, and there was a lot of judgments. If you've watched some of my other videos, you know that my parents actually asked me to move out when I was 18 because I didn't want to go to their church anymore. So I ended up having to move out my senior year of high school, not even finishing high school at the time, under their roof because I didn't want to go to their church. And also, I'm not welcomed at their church because I live with my boyfriend instead of being married. So, Dr. Parker, he's got a very different view, a very grace-centric view on Christ and Christianity, which is that, Christ believes in forgiveness and believes in helping people and believes in taking care of the most vulnerable people in society. And Dr. Willie Parker believes that that women who are pregnant in a situation where they don't want to be are a vulnerable population, and he feels like Christ would help them and not judge them. And so he has chosen, as part of his life's work, to help these women by providing abortions that they need. And I know that seems very controversial, but if you read this book, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense to love these women and say, I'm not going to judge how you got yourself here or who got you here or however you got here. I'm just going to help you. I'm going to non-judgmentally love you and do what you need done because that's what needs done. So I love that about him. And he does view it as being God's work that he's doing. Some of the things that I didn't necessarily love about it. He kind of thinks that it's a bad thing in our society that we have what he calls a sacralization of motherhood. And I'm not sure that's a bad thing. And again, this is coming from a place of a mother and a woman who wanted to have children and who very much views that as a huge part of her life and identity. I think if we take away the sacredness of motherhood, because he says that, part of the reason that it's so hard that people get so judgy about abortion is because there's this view that that's what women are supposed to do and that it's a sacred calling to have children. And here's the thing, I kind of think it is. Not in a religious sense, but I think, it takes a special kind of love and giving of yourself and selflessness to have children and raise them. And that's one of the reasons I definitely am pro-choice, because it's not for everybody. But I don't think we should. He almost goes and makes motherhood a very biological thing. And yes, pregnancy is a biological thing, but I just felt like he went a little too far the other way, and I'm like, we still, as mothers, there's things that we need too, and I feel like if you make it unsacred to be a mother, make it just another procreative thing, you're gonna cause a new set of problems for the women who don't want to have an abortion. Like, it's very great to say for the women and the view of, okay, well, we're gonna do abortions. Well, being a mom's not really a sacred calling or anything like that, so that's fine. You're not bad for having an abortion. And let me be clear, I don't think anybody is bad for having an abortion. I'm just saying that I feel like he's saying that to kind of take the pressure off women and be like, oh, it's okay that you don't want to be a mom. And it is okay, but don't make it so that being a mom isn't considered something good too. That was another issue I have. Another thing, oh, and he also says there's a cultish preference for motherhood. And here's my thought on that. Like, there is, but I kind of feel like that's okay. I think we're moving into a society where that's not so much true. But at the same time, I talk to my dad a lot. We've reconciled quite a bit as I've gotten older and as he's gotten older. And one of the things he talks about is how he's very grateful he did have kids, because he's not sure he would have had a lot of meaning in his life as a retired person without kids and without, I don't want to say without having done anything great, but I mean, he was a teacher, but he wasn't like a Nobel Prize winner, and he didn't cure cancer. But his kids are kind of his legacy. And I do think that this cultish preference for motherhood, I think that's an okay thing. Like, obviously not to the point of making women have babies who don't want to have babies, but don't make it so that we start hurting moms and saying, well, you don't need maternity leave and stuff like that, which I feel like can happen if we go too far the other way. If we go too far into that, it's just a biological thing. And, I had some concerns about the way he was looking at motherhood. I felt like he wanted them to care less about babies to make abortion more palpable. And I don't think that's the way to go about the abortion argument. I don't think we need to devalue babies, parenthood, or procreation to agree that a woman's right has to trump a non-viable fetus's right. So I don't think you have to devalue motherhood or say that it's not sacred or any of those things to make the point of a non-viable fetus that cannot live outside of the mom should have less rights than the mom, because if you pop it out right now, it's gonna die. And that should tell you everything you need to know about this debate. It is a potential life. It is not a sustainable life by itself until it can be viable outside of the uterus. Another thing that he talked about, and I'm trying to find this in my notes, and I hope I didn't lose that page. He made some interesting thoughts on the culture of, in our society, there's a movement right now, and I saw this when I went down south. It's not something I noticed in the north, but I did see it when I went down south, of women who are, or people who are claiming that abortion is genocide on blacks. And because I think in his book he said 33% of the women he sees for abortions are black or African American. And he says that he actually views the war on abortion not as protecting blacks, but actually protecting whites. And he says, by framing it as we're trying to protect black babies, then he believes that since most of the people fighting for women's right, or fighting to end abortion are middle-aged black men, that they're actually trying to control white women's uterus and keep kind of the white majority. And I guess here's the thing. I'm fairly young, I'm 35, and I don't know a lot about politics. I don't know about a lot of things in the world like that. I come from the North, and it's definitely, I'm not saying it's not racist, but it's just kind of a different thing than the South. I would never think that, and I kind of was cringing when I read that abortion is how we keep white women having white babies to keep, outpopulating the blacks, which that just seemed like a really strange argument to me, that is what he thinks is kind of actually going on behind the scenes. That was the thing too. There were a couple behind the scenes things that Dr. Parker talked about that I was kind of unsure I agreed with. But overall, I really liked this book. I really liked his views. I really liked the things that he had to say. Oh, there's my notes. I also wanted to say that I thought it was great that it was his view. It was a male African-American man's view on the abortion debate and the abortion topic in general, because I feel like he's right. Like, that's not a voice that's heard a lot. We have a lot of women who want to have opinions, and we have a lot of middle-aged white men and very religious people. But yeah, I would say, like, that's not a voice we hear very much. So I do think it's a good read. I do think if you are interested in the pro-life, pro-choice topic, and especially if you are Christian or have Christian leanings, this is a good book to read. I really did enjoy it. I thought it had a lot of good points. I didn't necessarily agree with all of them, so my overall rating was a 4 out of 5. But, again, definitely worth a read. So my social media is down there, my comments are down there, my like and subscribe button's down there. If you've read this book, I'd love to hear what you think. Because this is a controversial topic, please, be respectful in comments. It's okay to have an opinion, even if it's different than mine and different than Dr. Parker's, but let's all keep it respectful. All right, guys, till next time. Bye.